The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Trinidad and Tobago was established by an Act of Parliament in 1970. ICATT's responsibility is for the training, development and sustainability of the accounting profession through education and lobbying of government on matters of a national interest. ICATT operated under the original rules and regulations for some 46 years before the first amendments were considered in 2017. 5 years later, the Council of ICATT has put forward amendments to improve the governance of the Institute. Here to tell us more about these amendments are President Denise Chinpire O'Reilly and Vice President Dwayne Rodriguez Seijas.
Welcome to a brief update by the ICATT Council on the plans to amend the rules and regulations that were implemented in 2018 after some 46 years. The Council undertook a review of ICATT's rules and regulations to enhance its effectiveness and to close any gaps and clarify any ambiguity that became apparent as we applied the new rules and regulations. The process adopted by Council in arriving at these modifications has been to monitor the implementation of the 2018 rules and regulations and to document instances where there were gaps or language not aligned to the intent of the rules and regulations. The Council adopted a consultative process which included the formation of a subcommittee, the review of the proposed amendments by the subcommittee. The subcommittee then sought legal advice on the proposed amendments. Thereafter, a report was submitted to Council. The proposed amendments were then shared with all members for feedback. A member consultation webinar was held on October 19, 2021 to respond to questions raised. Feedback was considered and further amendments were approved by Council on October 21, 2021. The notice to approve the proposed amendments to the regulations was circulated on November 8, 2021. The notice of the EGM to vote on the proposed amendments to the rules will be circulated on November 24, 2021. The EGM will be held on December 9, 2021, and the effective date of the proposed amendments is January 2, 2022.
Member feedback was critical to the consultative process, and members' questions and comments were collated and captured to address all feedback and concerns received. Responses to all matters raised have also been posted on our website. There were many comments, but generally, member interest focused on 3 matters with regard to the amendments to the rules, and these were eligibility as an accredited supervising principal, the proposal of 10 units of ICATT-hosted CPDs mandatory for members who are required to achieve 40 or 50 units of CPDs annually, and the benefits of associate membership. Today, Denise and I will use this forum to once again address the concerns, starting with the question on the accredited supervisor.
The question was raised as to whether indirect supervision could be considered. For example, where an ASP is responsible for a team headed by an audit manager who directly supervises a trainee, would the ASP be considered the accredited supervising principal? A training hour is no longer valid if an accredited supervising principal is found to be not fit and proper. ICATT's response to this question is as follows. The rules were amended to clarify that direct supervision is in fact required, as it implies a direct working relationship which allows for a passing on of skills and knowledge to the trainee. In cases where an audit manager holds a practicing certificate, the manager would be considered the ASP. Accredited Supervising Principal, ASP, means a member engaged in audit practice who holds a valid auditing certificate issued by the Institute or a member body of IFAC, approved by Council, and who has received a satisfactory practice monitoring review at the commencement of the training period between the ASP and trainee. The ASP provides direct supervision of the audit-related activity. Where an ASP is not considered fit and proper, any training will be deemed invalid. ICATT's licensing committee may exercise discretion if any current training has already begun. The committee will also advise all members who are considered training to acquire a practicing certificate for audit of this requirement. The intention of the rule is to ensure that members have the best possible training opportunities and have absorbed practices that are sustainable for their success. We also received a few questions on associate membership, which I will go through now. What is the definition and conditions to be satisfied to maintain associate membership status, CPD activities, and moving from associate member to full membership? And what is the thinking behind the introduction of the category associated? What strategic objective it was seeking to fulfill? How would the rights and responsibility of associates be different to those of other members of ICATT? Example, their voting rights, fees, ability to practice, membership of council and/or committees. ICATT's response to these is as follows. Council wishes to engage at an early stage with persons in the finance and accounting field who have completed tertiary level finance and accounting and have enrolled in a course of study towards qualification as a professional accountant. The strategic objective would be to recognize, engage, and support such persons who have demonstrated an interest in the profession and ultimately make more accountants available to the national pool. Associate members are not considered members in ordinary practice and will not be eligible to sit on council or vote at the AGM until they become full members of the Institute. However, they may be considered to participate on committees. An associate member who has completed a professional accountancy qualification but is not yet a member of ICATT may work as an employee in an organization to earn practical experience. However, he or she is not authorized to be engaged in public practice. The definition of public practice is detailed in the rules of ICATT. Associate member status does not make one an accountant as defined by ICATT, but a company is free to hire whom it wishes and has the responsibility of aligning work to professional or technical qualifications. Associate members must obtain at least 15 CPD units per calendar year of acceptable CPD learning activities, which are relevant to their area of work. At least 8 CPD units must be verifiable. The CA designation has always been reserved for professionally certified accountants and may not be used by an associate. However, an associate member will be able to state that he or she is an associate member of ICATT. A definition for an associate member will be attached to all communications about this category on our ICATT website. Members also gave feedback on the 10 verifiable units, which we will also address. A common question was, does this mean that each year members have to obtain 10 verifiable units of CPD specifically provided by ICATT and would same be free to members? ICATT's response is, with respect to the 10 mandatory CPDs, ICATT members will be required to undertake a minimum of 10 verifiable CPD units offered by the Institute. There are 2 main reasons for this proposal. 1, members employed by smaller firms often lack the opportunity for broad-based relevant training or the cross-fertilization of job experiences for continuing professional development. By our commitment to a minimum of 10 hours of quality and relevant CPD, ICATT ensures that all members, regardless of their employment environment, have access to relevant training. Based on feedback received, the Council will amend this requirement to offer an additional waiver opportunity. Whether a member is employed by an employer who is approved by an IFAC body to operate a program of relevant CPD training, or by any other employer who can demonstrate annually to ICATT the plan and implementation of a robust and relevant training program for its members and its employee. Firms, of course, must provide evidence of the status of their implemented training plans. IFAC's Educational Committee prescribes a standard of good practice for member bodies, such as ICATT, to ensure that individual professional accountants develop and maintain the professional competence necessary to provide high-quality services to its clients, employers, and other stakeholders, and to strengthen public trust in the profession. According to IFAC, although it is the responsibility of the individual professional accountant to maintain competence by undertaking relevant CPD activities, the standard is addressed to the member bodies, whose role it is to foster a commitment to lifelong learning among professional accountants, to facilitate access to CPD opportunities and resources for their members, and to adopt good practice standards to help their members to develop and maintain the professional competence necessary to protect the public interests, including the development of appropriate measurement, monitoring, and compliance procedures. We have observed that many members are drawn to free online CPDs that are not always relevant to their needs, and the result of this can be a gradual deterioration of skills and professional insights. ICATT will continue to offer professional quality CPD programs focused on the maintenance of IFAC standards on ethics and quality assurance. ICATT has also entered into collaborations with other global organizations to offer reasonably priced webinars that are accessible at any time. The Institute offers more than 150 CPD hours annually and may from time to time offer free programs. It is noted that all our programs are costed below market as a service to our members. Case in point, participating in ICATT's annual conference alone, that accounts for 13 CPD units. Members are, however, free to source other CPD from any qualified source.
Another common question on the 10 verifiable CPD units was, why can't ACCA's CPD requirements satisfy ICATT's or vice versa? Have some mechanism to automatically feed the ACCA CPD info to ICATT or vice versa. ICATT's response: with respect to the relationship between CPD undertaken for ICATT or ACCA purposes, members are reminded that ICATT and ACCA are two separate bodies, notwithstanding our association, which is based on ICATT's endorsement of the ACCA qualification. ICATT is the national regulator for Trinidad and Tobago. ACCA is one of several professional bodies accepted by ICATT with its own rules and regulations. ICATT members have many different qualifications, which also include CPA, ICAEW, AICPA, CIMA, etc., and all need to report CPD undertaken in the same way. As such, ICATT is unable to incorporate any other body's procedures within our system. It should be noted, however, that CPD activity undertaken to satisfy the professional requirements of any certification body approved by IFAC is acceptable to ICATT, as long as evidence is provided for verifiable units. ICATT's hosted CPD program is now automatically posted to an ICATT member's account, and as such, no further evidence is required.
This brings us to the end of our discussion on the question asked on the proposed ICATT's rules. And now Dwayne will continue with the question raised on the regulations.
Thanks, Denise. The ICATT regulations work together with the rules in much the same way that procedures support policy positions. As with the rules, interest in the regulations focus largely on the proposed $10,000 fine for late submissions of renewal applications, the affordability of CPDs, finances of the Institute, questions of member category definitions, and the process to agree on the rules and regulations. Let's start with the question on the $10,000 fine, which is, the proposed fine of $10,000 for filing a license renewal for even 1 day late seems excessive. Further, the person would not be allowed to practice if they haven't filed their renewal application before its expiry date, so that in itself is a penalty. ICATT's response: there's really no reason to ever attract the proposed fine. Applications for renewal are allowed 2 months before expiry of the certificate which carries the date of expiry. The Secretariat issues at least 3 renewal notices. It is therefore possible to obtain a renewal before the expiry of the current certificate. Applications in process are not considered late. The rules also allow for consideration to be given by ICATT's licensing committee upon request for late application in exceptional circumstances. To engage in public practice without a valid certificate is a breach of the rules that can attract disciplinary action. Unfortunately, many members fall into this breach by knowingly signing audit reports while not in possession of a valid and unexpired practicing certificate. From time to time, our regulatory stakeholders and the public bring these breaches to the attention of ICATT as they impact the validity of audit reports presented for public purpose. This breach is serious, and it is hoped that a severe but avoidable fine will discourage this unethical practice. With respect to the affordability of CPD, one member commented, ICATT occasionally providing free CPD isn't sufficient for lower income members to not be greatly affected by this new rule. Was the disparity in income and schedule flexibility between the persons devising these regulations and newer members considered? There are other ways to achieve the goal of minimum standard of quality with respect to allowed categories, relevance to job rules, or even specifying that the 10 units can be obtained from any of the approved IFAC bodies. ICATT has a monopoly for those 10 units of CPD under the current proposal. This is effectively a variable increase in the cost of membership. ICATT's position on this is as follows. Continuing professional development cost is one attached to all professional disciplines, such as medicine and law, etc. However, there are many free and low-cost opportunities provided by professional certification bodies online and via employers. The ICATT CPD program is recommended by the various committees of ICATT who advise Council of the needs of their members. Annually, ICATT presents a robust CPD calendar with relevant and quality CPD topics for each member category as part of its mandate to ensure continuous learning and development for its members and the profession. All of our CPD programs offer schedule flexibility. There's a cost to providing suitably qualified professionals to present these programs, and any surplus goes to meeting the costs of the Institute on behalf of its members. Members who have financial difficulty may apply for a waiver of CPDs through the Secretariat to Council.
Subventions have also been a common question asked throughout the years, and I am happy to get the opportunity to address it today. The question is, will ICATT, referred to as a national regulator, consider obtaining a subvention from the Ministry of Finance to aid the Institute and the profession as a whole? ICATT's response. ICATT, as a national regulator, was established as a member body under private legislation. As such, the Institute, unlike public bodies, does not receive nor is eligible to receive subvention from the state. The matter of financial sustainability, then, is one which our members and council must always consider. As financial obligations increase, such as practice monitoring fees, regional international member body contributions, overheads, etc., the Institute, which is a benefit to its members and the profession, must seek ways to remain viable.
ICATT was also asked to advise on its current thinking on the rules of the Institute by A, reframing the members not in practice definition and reviewing the concept of accountants, and B, considering non-audit members as equal accountants. To emphasize, ICATT is clear within the rules of the Institute as to who is an accountant. An accountant, by nature, is one who has been professionally certified by an IFAC-approved certification body. We are also aware that there are a large number of accounting rules utilized in business to undertake various necessary tasks. As ICATT operates under private legislation, we are currently unable to regulate non-members who go by various designations without being professionally certified. It is because of this inability to regulate non-members, among other reasons, that the Institute has proposed that the state consider amendments of public legislation to further clarify this in the public interest. As for the question of equality of our ICATT members operating in the audit and non-audit fields, it should be noted that non-audit members are equally regarded as accountants. The choice of the area of practice, whether audit or non-audit, is personal and at the discretion of the member to undertake the required training.
There are also a few questions on the next steps for our upcoming EGM, such as, what steps will the Council make to ensure wider participation in the EGM? Will the rules be voted on separately or en masse? Is it foregone conclusion that these amended rules will be approved? Shouldn't the membership approve the amended rules? ICATT would like members to note that the notice of the EGM to adopt the proposed amendments of the rules will be circulated to all members, published in daily newspapers and posted to our website. All members had an opportunity to respond on the proposed amendments, and responses have been circulated. Voting at the AGM will be online, and all members have access. I want to take this opportunity to remind members that you have a personal responsibility to vote. As in 2017, the proposed amendments to the rules will be voted on en masse at the EGM scheduled for December 9th, 2021. The amendments will be incorporated into one resolution upon which to vote. Approval before a vote is not a foregone conclusion. The amendments to the rules can only be approved by the members voting at an EGM. And the amendments will only be considered approved when the period for voting is closed and the votes are tallied, should these be in favor of the resolution to amend. So another quick reminder on our next steps before we close. The extraordinary general meeting of ICATT will be held virtually on December 9th, 2021. The notice for the EGM will be disseminated on November 24th, 2021, and the effective date for the adoption of the recommendations will be January 2nd, 2022. Once again, on behalf of Dwayne and I and the entire ICATT Council, I wish to thank all members who gave feedback, and for this opportunity to once again share and address your questions on the proposed amendments to ICATT's rules and regulation. Remember, the EGM's date, December 9th, 2021. Put it in your calendars, and let's continue to move our institute and our profession forward for the benefit of all.